found out something today from one of your children.
Uh-oh.
And I think you're going to love it. So, do you know 6-7, right? Because you're an elementary teacher. 6-7.
6-7.
Okay.
Apparently the middle schoolers have to deal with it. Middle
No.
school teachers have to deal with it way more than elementary school teachers. But.
This is true. Middle school teachers have to deal with it a lot. But our 5th grader today, we were watching Hamilton, and somehow that brought up the concept of 6-7.
What?
To him. I don't know. It's a meme. Like, it's a whole thing. I get that. But he says that they're getting to a point in his class where they're not allowed to say 67. They're very rarely allowed to say 6 or 7. And if they do the hand motion, they get assigned an essay that has to be 670 words. That's why it came up. Because they're talking about how Hamilton wrote so many essays for like during the Revolution. He's always writing, like he's running out of time, and he had to write all these essays, and he just wrote all these essays. And Shepard's like, "How long is an essay?" And I was like, "Well, it's usually at least 300 words." And he says, "Well, we have to write 670 words sometimes." Why in the world would we have to do that? It is because they do this.
What about?
Or say 6-7. You're gonna love it. They have to write an essay on how brain rot is affecting the current generation.
What?
And how it is influenced by social media.
Okay.
5th grade. 5th grade. And I can't imagine, because I do this hand motion sometimes when I'm weighing different options, and I'm gonna have to write so many essays. I'm in trouble, because like one choice or the other, and now I have to write 670 words. I'm going to be Alexander Hamilton. I'm gonna have to write like I'm running out of time, Jess.
Brain rot.
Yep, brain rot. To write about brain rot and how it affects the current generation.
I just... It's interesting.
I thought it was interesting, but I also, the part that I really liked was that it's so clever to make that 607 words long.
That is clever.
I had such a love for this teacher when I heard that. I was like, wow, that's beautiful, and I love you for that.
With my students, I cannot even begin to imagine them getting anywhere near 670 words.
Yeah, well, you'd be really lucky if your students could write 6-7 words.
Yeah. How about 6 or 7 words? That would be my students.
6 or 7. 6 or 7.
Oh God.
It was beautiful. I am so in awe of teachers sometimes. It was so cute. But you were talking specifically about how coming out of Plato's Bunny Cave. I'm really excited for anybody who listens to this first of all of the episodes and just hears us referring to Plato's Bunny Cave. Coming out of Plato's Bunny Cave is like a football game, in that you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what life is. And I don't like sports ball.
I know.
Specifically, I don't like football because so many brain injuries, so little accountability. I have ethical problems with most parts of football, American football. But my first college experience was when I was studying clarinet. And I never got it. I was good at clarinet. That wasn't the problem. The problem was I had such shame every time I did a concert because I didn't do it perfectly. And there was always something I could have done better. There was always a phrasing that I could have perfected a little bit more. There was always something that I missed, or I got the time just this much off in that place, and it was wrong because of that. And I was always so ashamed every time I stood up in front of people and played, even though that was like my whole thing at the time. I was literally studying it in college. But coming out of the bunny cave made me realize a lot of things, and one of them was like music is not stagnant, which a lot of I blame my upbringing for this, because there was one good way to do things, one right way to do things, one perfect way to do things, and anything that wasn't perfect you would have to be judged for, because God only tolerates perfection, so you can only do things perfectly, and if you don't do things perfectly, you're doing them wrong.
Is that how they would have phrased it? I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious.
How they would have phrased what?
That God only tolerates perfection. Because I feel like that's... Okay.
God only tolerates perfection. That's why he sent Jesus, was because we're not perfect, but we should be. And we don't do things perfectly, but Jesus would. So Jesus is a cover for our lack of perfection. But Jesus doesn't play clarinet.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, Jesus doesn't play clarinet. Jesus can't cover for my imperfection playing clarinet. So there was this huge shame every time I played clarinet. And it wasn't until I got out of Plato's Bunny Cave that I was able to come to grips with the fact that concerts are life and music is life. Like, you're there for an experience. The experience isn't the perfect playing of Mozart. The experience is being there with a person who loves playing their instrument and is doing it for you. Like, you usually paid to be here to experience this person experiencing joy and doing something they're good at. And the joy in my upbringing was, if you do things perfectly, that is joy. If you do things right, that is joy. If you do this for Jesus, that is joy. But if you're doing it for Jesus, you better be the best at it, or you're kind of like an asshole, because you're literally playing for God and you're getting it wrong. And leaving the cave for me was the part where music actually is allowed to have feeling and not just be a small portion of perfection. For you, it was a lot like a football game, because you're experiencing that it has ups and downs and could go either way.
Yep.
And for me, leaving it was like going to a concert where you're allowed to just play. And I got to experience that like one time when I was actually in religion, because my friend's boyfriend came over. He was really good at guitar. I was really good at clarinet, and we both just decided to do a jam session. Jam sessions were not a thing.
No.
For me, because music was supposed to be perfect. You were supposed to study it and do it right and do it one time and do it when you were supposed to do it. And doing just like this jazzy thing where he played guitar and somebody was singing whatever they made up and I was just harmonizing with a clarinet was just, it was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced, because it wasn't perfect and people were still happy. And we were all just kind of there. And it was good. But it was very different, and I wasn't really able to do it again after that. Well, partially because I got brain injured and couldn't play much anymore. But real life is like a football game, and real life is like a concert where somebody actually is allowed to feel the music instead of just needing to play it perfectly. Because in my mind, if it wasn't perfect, nobody could appreciate it. And that's wrong.
Yeah.
Because people appreciate imperfections. Like, when's the last time you looked at somebody who did everything right on camera and you were like, that person is wonderful? Usually it's like, that person is hiding something. If you look at somebody and they look perfect on paper, you're like, okay, there's definitely more to this. And then when you find that part where they're actually human and they make mistakes and they find joy in things, that's when you can be like, oh, you're a person and I like you.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that in both of our examples, it's it's not individual things. It's not somebody doing it by themselves. It's a team thing or a
well, it has to be.
You're working with other people,
yeah.
Right? Like, because I think, boy, what do I want to say? Outside of the cave, so much of what is beautiful or brings joy has to do with how well or willing you are to work with others. Or, and
just work with people instead of being more right than them.
Yeah, because you can't play a
sonata.
Sure. I chose the wrong metaphor to work with. It's not my world.
That's okay.
but like, in theory, you could by yourself play your clarinet part in the concert, like theoretically perfectly, and mess up the whole concert because you weren't actually listening to what everybody else in the orchestra was doing.
Well, because it's
right?
stupid. I could play everything perfectly. Mozart's Sonata in D minor. I could play that from memory at the time. But if I tried to, assuming I found a stage somewhere, lighting was perfect, seating was gorgeous, everything was great, and I played the whole thing note for note perfect, exactly the way Mozart intended.
As if you knew what that was, but
sorry?
As if you knew what that was, but
nobody knows what that is. But assume I did all of that.
Yeah.
I'm still just a shadow bunny on the wall because that's not assuming that there's a pianist, an orchestra, somebody who set up the lighting, an audience.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't need any of that to play it perfectly.
But was it worth?
But what's it worth? There's no one there.
Yeah.
There's no one to fall with. Like, if you play it imperfectly, it's just you. And if you mess up your touchdown play, I'm paying you back in kind.
Yeah, you are.
If you mess up your touchdown play, but it was just you on the field,
right?
What the fuck are you doing?
It's not anything.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's literally just you doing nothing by yourself for no one and expecting it to be perfect and that you'll be rewarded in the afterlife.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Greek mythology, none of your people who were favored by the gods expected to be favored by a god when nobody saw what they did.
Right? Well, it's like a really good football analogy for that one is kicking field goals. Because, like, there's kickers who are, like, probably the most maligned people on the football team. Right? Like, they don't tackle people usually. They do sometimes. But, they only come out to kick the ball through the uprights. That's their whole job.
Give me 1 second. You can tell they're maligned, even though I don't follow football. Because they're literally called kickers. What are the rest of them called? Tacklers? Runny people?
Well, no, they all have positions.
I'm being silly. You can tell they're maligned because they are reduced to one thing.
They are. But it's an impressive thing. Like, I can't even imagine how hard it is. Like, I've never even tried to kick a ball to the uprights. But to get to my point, like what I like, or and to tie into your point, like these kickers practice kicking the ball a long ways all the time. And just recently, the NFL record for furthest distance to kick a ball through the uprights, it was just this last week, was 68 yards, which is a long ways. Before last week, it was 63 yards. So it was like an increase of 5 yards, which is pretty significant.
Damn.
Yeah. But, and that was years. Like, it was years between the guy who kicked the 63-yarder, the last 63-yarder, and the guy who kicked the 68-yarder. Like, it was a long time. And, but, like, so that's, but it only counts if it happens in the game.
Yeah.
Right? These guys, I like, if you pay attention and listen to what's happening before games and during practice, and kickers kick 70-yard field goals in practice a lot. Like, or further. Like, it's done these days. I don't know how long that's been happening for, but I know that happens. Like, they practice kicking really long field goals when it doesn't matter, right? Like, just because if they miss in that moment, it's not a big deal. They just try it again, right? But like the thing that counts, that everybody remembers, is the thing where everybody's together in the moment, and the pressure of the moment, and the wind in that moment, and the da 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 da. Right? It matters when it's a group thing, when it's a group experience. That's what it counts as a thing. Like, as opposed to trying to get it back to where we were with somebody playing Mozart perfectly by themselves.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
Right? Nobody cares. You can kick a 90-yard field goal during practice. Probably nobody's even ever gonna know, except the person that kicked it, and maybe a couple people watching. Nobody's gonna know.
It's just so sad sometimes when I think about that, though, because like, my grandpa died like 2 weeks ago. We just had his funeral Saturday. And he was a really good speaker, a really good missionary, a really good pastor, a really good this, that, and the other thing. He was amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah.
But the life that he led on purpose took humanity down to so many people that he could actually deal with. Which is what happens, like, because a lot of my family still lives on a compound because that's their world. Like, you could be so good at so many things, but you've taken the entire world and you've condensed it into these cinder block walls that you're willing to deal with, and those are the walls that matter.
Yeah.
And you're doing great there, and you make a glorious newsletter that you send out to people, and you tell them about the amazing things that are happening within these 4 cinder block walls, but it's still just 4 cinder block walls. Like, you're taking yourself out of society as a whole.
Yeah.
Which is exactly the opposite of what they say they want to be doing, and it's tragic to me.
Well,
that you condense your world.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Right. Well, and I mean, in my mind, it's even more drastic than that. My dad's favorite, my dad had a lot of favorite songs, but one of his favorite songs, they were all Christian songs, just for the record. One of his favorite songs was called "Audience of One." Right, and I mean, in this context, I feel like that's like it really emphasizes that thought process that they had, that everything they did was for God and this eternal thing, this eternal, what I consider to be imaginary thing, right? Like and you do everything for an audience of one. I mean, they were thinking of God, just to be clear, and so like in that mindset, you could theoretically do the perfect Mozart concert for your imaginary God. And that would be because of the eternal aspect, because I'm going to live forever. And so if I do this perfect thing for the eternal being and he sees it, it has value.
Then it lasts forever.
Yeah. And that's, to go way back to why I have to rend myself from that thought process in my family, is because I can't live that way anymore. I can't live imagining that every little thing I do is being observed by this one eternal being and not by anybody else. Because I elevated, I decided to elevate the respect I had for the rest of the audience, right? Like, because no matter what I do, there are other humans involved. I'm living life with other humans. For so much of my life, the way I thought about it was, all I care about is the audience of one, right? I was taught to think like that. All I care about is the audience of one, and whoever else might happen to be watching, they're so far down here in terms of respect and how much I care about what they think. They don't even matter, essentially, because this one being matters way, way, way more than any of them or all of them put together. And then I had this moment of realization that, oh my goodness, if I'm called, say I'm that person in the middle, God on top, them way down below, oh, they're humans just like me. I had that realization of, holy cow, like, we're just all on the same level doing stuff together. That was a huge realization for me. That we were just, and that they didn't, we were all living on the same planet in the same space, trying to figure out the same things, and I had pushed them way down here for so much of my life and not caring what they thought, because I had this connection with this great being way up high and knew everything, and so that was what mattered. And I missed all of the people around me and how valuable they were, and just assigning value to those people changed my life. Like, that was a thing. Like, oh, all those people have value as people.
Yeah, but what you're describing, though, is what's happening with MAGA world versus immigrant world. Because when you take the humanity out of being human, and everyone is performing for an audience of one, then doing things the right way, the perfect way, is the only way to make God happy. Which is why they think there's one right way to do things, one right way to emigrate, one right way to serve God, one right way to be religious, one right way to do this, one right way to do that. And anything other than that means you are essentially subhuman.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing it the one right way. Yeah. And it's I understand why it's hard for my parents to get around that MAGA way of thinking, because for them, the one right way has always been the right way, and they can always do it the right way. Because, like, my mom's an immigrant. I remember going to her tests, and the day that she finally got naturalized as an American citizen, and she has no patience for anyone doing it a different way because she worked hard to do it right. And it took until I, her second child, had full memory of what was going on and her little American flag that she got for her naturalization hearing. It took a lot of work, and it makes them angry that somebody would do it not the right way and still get recognition for it, because it took so much work for that to happen. And I feel like the MAGA mindset and the cult mindset are a lot like that. It's really hard to take someone in off the street, essentially, when they didn't work as hard as you did. They just got to be a human this whole time and do things the way they wanted to, and they weren't trying and doing it perfect, and they still get in. That sucks, because I did it I played Mozart's Sonata in D minor perfectly, and you're clapping for that asshole? It's hard. It's really hard.
No, yeah, but then, yeah, but like, and that is where they're at. But then, like, when you actually just like just like a half a step back from that, and just start to realize that just like that they're human too, just like you, and they're and you don't even know what piece they played to get to where they are now.
Well, you can't look at a human and know what their story is.
Right, exactly.
We assume that we do.
Yeah, well,
all
and
the time.
you've been playing Mozart, and maybe, they've been playing Green Day. I don't know.
Well, right? That's obviously not perfect, so fuck them and throw them out of heaven. Because Green Day's obviously not holy.
Holy Mozart, oh my goodness.
Oh no, Mozart is definitely holy. Don't look it up.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But that's the thing though, right? And you just don't even know.
Oh, but it makes you so angry when you've been trying so hard to be perfect. And then nobody cares. But especially God doesn't care. That sucks. And that's why you have to double down so hard. That's why
what do
you have
mean
to
God doesn't care? Like in that context, what do you mean?
In that context specifically. So you've been trying your whole life to do everything perfectly. And it's a parable. You know, the parable of the harvest workers, right?
Well, I do. I doubt most people do.
Okay. So, this guy has a field.
It's one of the lesser known parables.
It's ready to harvest. And he's got these people who are with him all the way. And they're like, we're going to get this harvested. We're going to do it real hard. We're going to do great. And they start going out to harvest. And then he realizes this field is going to take a lot longer than these people can actually do. I'm going to go into the city square. I'm going to find some more people. So, partway through the day, he goes in to the city square. He finds some people, essentially the people at Home Depot.
I know, that's exactly what
I know. Shut the fuck up, though. He goes to Home Depot. He finds these people. He's like, I got this thing that needs to be harvested. I need you to help. I'm going to pay you this much. So he sends them out to the field. And then halfway through the afternoon, he's like, oh my God, this field is a lot bigger than any of us anticipated. I'm going to need more people to harvest this. So he goes back to Home Depot. He finds some more people. He's like, oh, I'm going to pay you this much. Sends them out to the field. At the end of the day, field's harvested. Everybody's glad. They all did a good job. And then the people that he had on staff, they come by. He gives them their pay for the day. The people he hired at 9 o'clock in the morning, when these people had already been working for like 3 hours, he gives them the same amount of pay because he went and found them partway through the day and told them that that wasn't what he's going to pay them. The people who came on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon come in to get their pay. He gives them exactly the same amount of pay as the people who are on staff. So the people who are on staff are like, fuck you. I'm on staff. I've been working 3 times longer than this person, and you gave them exactly the same amount of pay? What the fuck is wrong with you? And that's how it feels to be a Christian now, though. Or to be an American citizen who got naturalized. You're like, these people did half as much work as me, and they're getting exactly the same thing? What the fuck? Because it's not a social system. It's an individual system.
Right.
You did it perfect. You deserve the thing.
Yeah.
Nobody else deserves it. You do because you did it perfect. It's not a social system, and that's why I can't do it. It's not a society. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because it's bad for you. It's bad to think that you are the only person who's done this perfectly and you're the only person who deserves the acclaim for it. It's not communal.
Well,
it's not a village.
Yeah, right. And from a point of view of you like the you don't know what's going to happen thing, right? And in that case, it's in my mind, maybe you missed a chance to make a friend because you were so busy thinking about working hard and doing it perfect. You didn't even talk to the person who showed up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you just missed out on a chance to get to know somebody and make a friend. You don't know why they didn't get there till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right? There's so many possibilities of reasons of why that human got there at that time. You know, like, who knows? Maybe they got up at 3 in the morning and walked 10 hours or, whatever to get to wherever they needed to be.
I work in healthcare now. If I had a shitty shift, I start at 7 o'clock in the morning, I go till 7:30 at night. If somebody showed up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and took half of my patient assignment, I would love that.
Right.
They deserve it for coming in when they didn't need to come in.
Yeah. No.
Thank fuck you came in.
Yeah.
I need you. Please stay forever. Like, it puts such a different perspective on things.
Right. Well, and at my job, the lived experience at my job is we don't do substitutes at my school.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say that for now.
Because it's specialized.
Yeah. It would be super hard to be a substitute jumping into what we do at my school.
Mm-hmm.
But we also are, as a team, are very adamant about taking care of each other and filling the gaps when people can't be there. Which, I mean, the truth is, like, with the size of team we have right now, almost every day somebody's not there. Like, that's just the reality of
things happen to people.
Right. There's several people who are single parents and they have kids who get sick and they or have behavioral issues that they have to go and solve with the school their kids are at. And or I've had to leave because our kids were sick or because I got sick. People get sick sometimes, right? Like there's a whole slew of possibilities of things. Right? And or like we had a person who had a chronic illness who like celiac disease that affected them at greater degree some days than it did other days, and that person just wasn't there as consistently as like you might anticipate in the American workforce would be the ideal scenario. I mean, in the American workforce, you're just supposed to be there all the time, no matter what. And,
yeah.
Yeah. But But what that means is, in the reality of the situation, is I feel safe because it is a community. It's a group of people who's decided to look out for each other. I feel safe knowing if I get so sick I can't go to work, they're going to be okay, right? Like, they're going to figure it out. I know that. They're going to get through the day. They're going to figure out the things they need to figure out and solve the problems they need to solve as a community. Even though I was so sick I couldn't go to work, right? And I know that not because that happened to me, even though it has, but because I saw it happen to other people, right? Like, I lived through working and being part of the solution to somebody being able to, somebody not being able to come to work, and just being like, oh, we can, it's harder,
yeah,
but we can make it work because we're a community, and it's not perfect, and you can't plan. Like, I couldn't, it's the football thing again, where I don't know every day what's going to happen. I don't know who's all going to be able to make it. But to assume every day that everybody's going to be perfect, right? Just from like a health standpoint.
Yeah.
Forget like decision making standpoint. Okay, actually, let's take it to the decision making standpoint. Not everybody's gonna be perfect every day from a health standpoint, just for starters. But then also, not everybody's gonna be perfect from a decision. People are gonna make mistakes in the middle of the day, right? Like, especially at our jobs, you work in healthcare, I work in education. Both of those jobs are on the high end of number of decisions you have to make in the course of a day, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers, but I know that's
lots.
the case.
I don't
You
think
have
anybody
to
can
make
count
a
the
lot
number of
of
decisions. That's why
Yeah.
you don't know the numbers.
Yeah, I think I've heard it before because people have done studies of like averages, but
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's just a lot.
It's a lot. You're constantly making decisions about how to deal with unpredictable
Literally
behaviors
everything.
from other people, right?
Yeah.
And lots of other things too, but just that all by itself is a high number of decisions. And so, and people are gonna make mistakes in those moments, right? Like, I do it all, like constantly throughout the day. I'm trying to make good decisions about how to interact with this kid who's losing their mind about whatever, right? And they're just screaming and they're not dealing with it well, and they decide that they're gonna throw things or hit people or whatever they do when they're dysregulated. And then I have to make decisions about I and my team about what the best thing is to do for that student in that moment. And sometimes we do better than others, probably, right? Yeah. And sometimes it's literally like trial and error. Like, okay, I'm gonna try this time. Sometimes somebody like I had a couple kids and where they would lose their minds, screaming, swiping stuff off their desks, but they weren't like actively hurting anybody, and so we weren't just automatically taking them out of the room, because if they're not actively trying to hurt somebody, we try to, let things play out. But at the same time, they were loud enough, they were distracting enough to disturb the class. So like, I would try to take the rest of the class out, because maybe they're just doing it for attention. Maybe they're just, But like every time, in this particular case, with these kids, taking the rest of the class out of the class actually made the situation worse. Like, it made them more angry.
Because they didn't have an audience.
Right. The hope was, they take them out and then they would have the ability to calm down and process in that space. That was the goal. But that's not what happened, because it just made them more angry. And they started throwing more stuff and ultimately just had to be moved anyways. So, like, I did that a few times. Like, no, that's a mistake. Like, it's not working. It's not helping them. And it's not helpful to the kids I'm moving, because you're totally changing their educational learning space for no reason, because it's just making the other kid worse, right? So I did.
Well, and transitions are hard for the kids at your job in the first place.
Oh, for sure.
Let alone unexpected transitions.
Yeah, so I tried and failed at that multiple times, before I finally was like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Even though that's kind of a recommended thought process on a decision to make in that moment, right? But after a while, I was like, okay, I've failed enough with this, and know what the result is. I'm gonna make the decision. I'm gonna, even though it's like not the first or not maybe what people consider the best option generally in this classroom with these kids, the best option is to remove the kid who's losing their mind from that space, right? And then try and help them de-escalate somewhere else.
The most good for the greatest amount of people.
Right. And then try, and and always give them, I always tell them, give them options, give them choices. But if it comes down to it and they're not going to make good choices, I'm going to remove them from the space and deal with it outside of that space. However that looks as that process unfolds. And that's worked out better. But I had to make a lot of choices that failed, essentially, right? Before I got to the point where I realized that something different was going to work better, because it ended up being kind of the opposite of what people generally recommend, right? But I had to fail a lot to figure that out. I forgot how I got there. I had 2 beers, and now I can't hold a whole train of thought, apparently.
Well, no more beer for you then. We were talking about how...
perfection.
Essentially, yeah.
But if my goal was perfection, I would have just failed the first time, right? Like, I couldn't... That's not how you figure things out, right?
But you can't do our jobs and be perfect, because they deal with damaged people. Like, you work with high needs children. I work with people with brain injuries. There's no way to do it right.
Right.
You can have strategies, and you can have ways that you do things, and you can have tangential things that happen if something happens, but there's no way to do it perfectly.
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, this cat is
Yeah, well, she just wants you to feed her, Chad.
I know, but maybe she needs snuggles. It needs snuggles.
Oh my god.
See it? Snuggles.
Oh, the poor baby.
Just poor.
I'm telling you, we need to get her a kitten. I told you she would just cry.
Well, maybe she would just want snuggles.
So, another tangent. Time off. We accrue PTO.
Yep.
At my job.
Mine too.
And I have found a weird disparity. Because sometimes people will compare their PTO as like a status symbol. They're like, I have so much PTO, I have to come into work today, or I can't come into work today. I've got too much PTO to come into work today because I'll start losing it. And
what?
It really sucks. Because I'm constantly zeroing out my PTO, because it's not just me I have to worry about. I have to worry about 7 people. It's the weirdest status symbol ever, because these people are single or have no one to take care of or nothing to take care of, essentially, and they get giant amounts of PTO, and then they weirdly look down on people who have to zero out their PTOs constantly because they have a family and people get sick and you have to stay out, and that is not social. That is not pro-social. Having the same requirements and expectations of someone with only themselves to look after, barely paying rent, versus somebody with 5 children, a spouse, and a mortgage, and a chronic health condition. Like, those are not comparable things, and yet we compare them constantly. And yes, we will try to fill in for people no matter what, but we are not a pro-social society.
The way the system is set up is not pro-social, and that's the reality of my work. Like
Yeah.
those people, like as a team, and in terms of the job we have to do, we can step in for each other.
Yeah.
But the way the system is set up and pay, it's not helpful, because those people who have to leave for
Whatever
more
reason.
often, yeah, maybe they have chronic illness, maybe they have
A
kids,
child.
yeah, or multiple children, or you know, and I think what I've seen lately, people who are mostly affected at my job are people with chronic illness, or people
Yeah.
who or single parents. Those are the people most affected, right? Because they don't have somebody else who can take care of the kid in the emergency situation. They have to do it every time, right?
Yeah,
Because they're a single parent.
But
and the system doesn't have it's built like as if I were in the same position as them.
well, but
Even though I'm not.
that's part of the thing that happens when you leave the religion and get shunned too, though, because our system, our social system, is built on redundancies. So the assumption is that if I can't come get the child and you can't come get the child, grandma can come get the child.
Yeah. Right.
And what happens when you leave that system is that every single redundancy is gone.
Yeah.
Like, if you and I both went down in a plane crash, I don't know what would happen to the kids. I have no idea, because it's built on a redundancy that assumes that everyone is okay with what happens in the case of emergency. It's built on redundancies that may have existed in Puritan times. Like in 1776, maybe somebody had a grandmother who could stay home and take care of the children and be there if something happened. But the way that we exist right now, you have to rely on your video doorbell to make sure that your children are safe. You can't rely on a human. And then when you strip away every single social net that you had to rely on, you have to rebuild it from scratch. And you have to find someone who you would trust to raise your children and not traumatize them excessively. That's hard. Nigh on impossible with the world that we live in now. Because you can't do anything perfectly, and nobody that you know can do anything perfectly. But you've been raised to expect a perfect system. And once you strip that away, strip away the family, strip away the entire social net that you were raised to rely on, you have to rebuild it from scratch.
Yeah. You do, but I think at the same time, if you while you're rebuilding it, you know, trying to recognize the lack of perfection is going to be an important step, because you're not going to find perfection, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's something. It took me, it's still a weird thing, but raising kids, like, I think I have to remind myself that I'm not raising kids to live my life. I'm raising them to live their life.
Which is exactly opposite of what you were raised to do.
You're right, in most cases.
Yeah.
But that means for a long time I had this thought process in my head where I'm like, I have to try and make it look like the way it looked like when I was a kid, you know, whatever it was, you know, the holiday or the vacation or the I don't know, the meal times or whatever it was.
Well, yeah, because that's what it was when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Dinner time is 6:00. You do it at 6:00, and like even as far as games go, like I learned how to play marbles and roll a hoop. I grew up in the 1990s and early 2000s. Like
You did not. You grew up in the 40s and 50s.
apparently, yes, because those were the okay and acceptable things to do as far as recreation went. I could read the same authors and play the same games that my grandfather did because that was okay.
Well, that's how our parents thought, was you raise the kids like you were raised, as identically as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't allow for them to live their own lives, right? It's trying to get them to live your life. And there's no, like, if you live in the reality of reality, where different things happen to different people and you're not inside the cave, right? And you recognize that there's an infinite number of possibilities for every situation and for every person. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Infinite might be the wrong number, but a lot of possibilities.
I'm pretty sure infinite's the right number.
Okay,
Actually.
okay.
I mean, I can roll some foam dice over there.
There you go. Good point. Yeah, and you have to, if you do that every
Which
millisecond, right? It's
aren't
infinite
okay
number.
to have, by the way, because D&D is evil. So
Right. Yeah. But to try and make it perfect for your kids, it's an insane concept, right? If there's an infinite number of possibilities for their life, you trying to force that series of possibilities into some perfect combination of scenarios.
1950s combination of scenarios specifically.
Sure. It's,
Rolling hoops.
For one, it's not realistic. For two, it's not kind to your children, because you're just cutting them off from a significant series of possibilities.
Can I just tell you for a second? Ball bearings in the playing of a marbles game,
It's totally cheating.
it was considered like a new thing. Like that was the cheating. Pretty sure ball bearings have existed since the 1940s at least.
No,
but
sure.
no, they were viewed as a new and entirely unfair invention. In 1999, from my growing up, I'm still mad about this. I am livid about people using ball bearings in games of marbles because you can disguise them as a glass marble. I just had to say that I'm really angry about that.
My parents never let me play marbles. Or I don't know. Like, we just didn't play marbles. I don't know if it was like a let me. It was just we didn't do marbles. We didn't do pong. Oh, pogs. What are those?
No, pogs were satanic.
Yeah, we didn't.
Marbles are okay.
Nope, we didn't. I mean, they weren't.
And jacks, we could play jacks.
Yeah, we could play jacks.
Jacks was kind of new, but it was allowable.
Yeah.
Because they sold them at the dollar
My
store.
family was okay with card games for the most part.
Mine were not.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
we could play them, but we couldn't let anybody outside the house know that we played them. Because,
so insane.
well, most card games, I will have
My
you
family
know,
did that too. Yeah.
are based on, like, poker cards, which are based on tarot cards, which are obviously demonic.
Obvious.
Even Dutch Blitz. Like, not okay.
What a mess.
It's really a mess, though. It's very much a mess. Everything's a mess, though. Just kind of the point.
For sure.
Do you feel like it would be worth doing if it wasn't a mess? If you could make everything in your life absolutely perfect, like if perfection, as you saw it, was exactly what your father and grandfather had done and everybody had been doing, like as far as you know, because we don't go past grandfather or great grandfather in our lineages. That's when they got Christian, so that's when they were okay. But if you did everything exactly like your grandfather did, would you be happy?
No. That's a silly question for me, but I'm not the person that has that question. Obviously, it's one of the, like, first of all, I'd have to go my
grandmother
father.
then.
Still no.
I say grandfather because it's a patriarchal society. I assume I need to do what my grandfather did. God, sexist much?
But I mean, I don't know. No, I wouldn't be me if I thought that. So I don't know. But my dad thought that.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason he was so depressed. It's because he couldn't live life the way his grandfather did, which was an insane thought.
He tried so
Because
hard.
times changed and
He tried so hard.
You just can't replicate. It's just not possible, right? Like that would be my thought process. Like no matter how, like it's just not like.
It's so sad.
Possible. Yeah.
The amount of depression that comes from feeling like you should be doing things perfectly, and society literally makes it impossible because there's things like computers, so your children aren't going to play marbles or jacks. It's just, it's so difficult.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, like even in the teaching world, I'm finding that difficult because like teachers have this really strong idea that writing is this huge thing when you be teaching kids. I mean, like I'm for writing, and motor skills are a thing, but I think they miss this idea of the point of writing is creating something, right? Using language to create new things. That's what writing is. That's that important step of writing is producing from your brain the words going together to create a story or make something new. Yeah, which you can do with typing, right? But like it's weird, even to this day in the teaching world, like they tie writing to pen and paper always.
Oh, sweetie, I grew up with a Becca. We had an entire full color picture of a soldier, a soldier's letter from the Civil War.
Yeah.
He had written it all in cursive. That was not the point. The point was, when he wanted to correct a word, he scratched it out by writing circles instead of putting one line through. So when you looked 100-something years later at this full color picture of this letter, the only thing you could think about was how he should have just put one line through that.
Oh my God.
And instead, your attention is drawn to this one word that he actually wanted to cross out.
Oh,
and it entirely negates the purpose of crossing out that word. And how could he? The amount of judgment on this soldier was absurd.
Absurd.
For the record, he was, yes, a Confederate soldier. And we still sort of judged him, even though he was on the right side.
Oh, man.
Oh, no, it's a problem.
Yeah. But again, but my whole thing is, though, like, things have changed, right? Like, we just don't write in cursive these days. It's, on average,
well, that's on
it's
you.
No, it's on Gmail. It's not my fault Times New Roman is a thing. But, like, getting people to, like, it was a change that happened fast, right? To go from writing things on paper to, oh my goodness, we're using digital writing.
It wasn't that fast,
Primarily.
though. Correspondence in 1940 was considered incredibly unprofessional if you didn't type it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Typing's been around for a while.
It's not new.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not saying there's no benefit to writing with a pen and pencil. I think there's benefit to that. Yeah, but to do that to the exclusion of typing, which, from my observation, is the common practice in elementary education. You're missing out on the opportunity to get these kids doing what they're going to be doing their whole lives sooner than later, right? Like, they're gonna be typing. That's how they're going to be doing things a lot of the time.
Again,
they're gonna be using a QWERTY keyboard a lot of the time.
That's the fundamentalism, though.
Oh yeah.
You have to do things the way they've always been done. If you don't do things the way they've always been done, you may as well not be doing them because you're not being perfect.
Right. Well, oh yeah. And it's even worse in special education because they're like freaking out these kids can't write. And it's like they're in special education. We should probably just skip the writing step at this point. Maybe someday down the road they'll figure that out, and that would be like a bonus for them at that point, right? But right now, we want them to communicate and be able to, have success in things, and we have all these tools available for them, and why aren't we using them? Like, just use these tools that
but they're not communicating perfectly.
Yeah, and people really struggle with that. Yep. The ideas of perfection and fundamentalism definitely permeate our society, and it's from things like healthcare and time off, and whether or not we're using, teaching kids how to type. Like, it permeates how we think about things,
how we think about people.
Even if your family isn't cult evangelical, those things have affected how our society thinks about things.
And there's a difference between how it affects you and making it your entire identity. And I feel like if we want to circle back to why did you tear yourself away from everything that was ever familiar to you and all of your roots, it has to come back to that at a point. Because a lot of people will be colored by a lot of things and think a lot of things about a lot of other things. But if that starts being your only identity, if your only identity is being perfect,
yeah,
and then suddenly, for whatever reason, with us it was a lot of reasons, you don't fit that perfect mold. You had the wrong sexual identity, you had the wrong job, you had even birth order of male versus female children was wrong according to your family heritage. Any of that makes you already not perfect. And trying to exist in that and deal with humans in that, or raise your own family in that, becomes impossible. To the point where it's easier to tear yourself away from everything you've ever known in your entire heritage than to try to stay in a place where everyone will view you as flawed, imperfect, and unworthy of anything they have to offer.
Yeah, or you're just lying.
Yeah. It would be easy to lie. Yeah, you can lie a lot.
Yeah. But like the lying eats away at you. And
lying does eat away at you.
You know when you're lying. That's why we end up coming out eventually. So we're just like, we can't keep lying about this anymore, right? Like.
Well, and it's a lying by omission at that point.
Well, for sure, yeah. Well, for sure. You just don't tell people things. It's still lying, and you know it because they don't know who you are. That's how you know it's lying. Nobody knows who you are. And I mean, admittedly, they still don't really know who we are, but at least they know they don't know who we are. I guess that's the. We told them that. Oh yeah, this is. We told them in blunt language who we are.
Yeah,
knowing they don't understand, right? But and then we tried to explain.
No.
Well, at least in my case, I tried with my family.
Well,
But
Yeah, but it
knowing that they wouldn't understand.
how long did it take for one person to be like, explain it to me? We came out
A couple months.
years ago. And the one time one person from your family was actually like, explain it to me, was a couple months ago.
What do you mean? I don't. That wasn't my experience of it, but it's because like I felt like we had quite a few conversations of people being like, "What do you mean?" and me being like, "Well, I mean all of this," and then they're like, "Okay, so."
Oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. So what I'm talking about is we came out in a letter, and then people wanted to know about definitions of that letter, so they asked us about them for a little bit. And then everybody just shut up and didn't ask anything. And the only time that somebody actually was like, explain to me exactly what this means, was this summer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't know what any of those words meant for the first couple months.
Yeah. Well, and again, they did ask. My family did at the beginning, like, "What is this? And what is this? And what is this?" And I told them what I thought. The recent thing was my name change, and what that was all about. Not really. That was, it's like coming out part 2, apparently. It's like, what did you think? And where I'm like, okay, I told you it was transgender 2 years ago.
It's been a minute.
Been a minute, and you still haven't figured that out 2 years later. You are no nearer to having any understanding of what that means. Despite any explanations I may have given. Yeah.
It's process. When you leave your whole identity, when you leave your family, when you leave your heritage, it's a process to rebuild that afterwards. You have to start from scratch, essentially.
Yeah.
Figuring out who, what, and why you are.
Yeah. Well, that was that realization I had about the name thing today. It was like this first feeling of, oh, I don't have anything to say. My name doesn't have anything to do with my heritage. I don't know what to say on this question. And then that realization of, oh, yeah, I made active decisions on purpose.
So it does have a lot to do with your heritage.
It has a lot to do with it. Yeah, exactly. Of me actively rejecting a very specific heritage and building a new one. And that's, I mean, it's a good picture of the whole thing, because it's weird because not many people do it. I mean, for even not many people do the name thing, but also not many people really do
the deconstruction of birth family thing.
Yeah, it's fairly unusual, but it's, I mean, we're not the only ones, but
we're not.
And it's, I mean, the cool thing is you do get to build something new and hopefully better. It's the goal.
It's very aspirational. Naming yourself after a Star Trek character.
Yeah. For sure. Yep.
Maybe more than one Star Trek character.
Yeah. Oops.
That's what you get.
That's what I get.
Well, we're gonna have to wrap up for now.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to make dinner.
To dinner.
To dinner.